Well, today in our Embodied Love Lounge podcast, we're going to be talking about anal sex.
Yes, I'm very excited about this topic. It's a taboo topic. It's an edge for a lot of people. It was a massive edge for me. I was like a hell no for a really long time. Clearly not anymore. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to talk about the taboos and myths around it.
That it's always painful, but also that, it can actually be quite amazing.
Yes, so why don't we just jump in?
All right, let's go for it. Well, I want to kind of talk first about, what are these taboos? What are the things that hold people back around it?
I think a big one for a lot of people is that they think it's dirty or bad or nasty. But I think the taboo also makes it exciting.
Well, and the dirtiness could both be in terms of unsanitary,
yes,
but also too dirty in terms of it's something that's morally apprehensible.
Correct. The other is there's this idea that it's only for gay men.
Yeah.
But I know plenty of women who really enjoy that part of their body being
and
stimulating.
Also straight men as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then just there's some parts of the world where it's the only kind of sex available before marriage. So there is a taboo there, but it's the forbidden, not so forbidden.
Or even if it's allowed, or even if it's not about marriage, there's definitely some people who are well, I want my first time to be really special, so I want to keep my virginity, so let's go ahead and have anal sex.
Yes, but then there's others who want to save the anus.
Yes.
Only for marriage. So it's very confusing. There's lots of ideas.
I think there was, I don't know, but I thought I saw a documentary on Jenna Jameson, I believe. Sorry, Jenna, if this isn't accurate, but she would not have anal sex in porn because she reserved that just for her husband.
Oh, well, there you go. Everyone has their fantasies. So the positive side is that this is an area that has a lot of erectile tissue, a lot of innervation. This means a lot of sensitivity can come there. I don't know if you've ever had that godlike moment on the toilet, but occasionally that happens. And that is because you have some incredible nerves there that... Well, it would make sense that biology would make that thing
rewarding
so that you can do it, right?
Yeah.
If it's not rewarding, you're not going to be motivated.
Well, that brings up another fear that people have, I think, around anal sex. Is okay, well, if I have anal sex, then I'm going to be stretched out and then I won't be able to control my stool.
Correct. And there is a stretching that happens, but the body does restore itself.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, maybe we could go into some of the benefits, or do you have a couple more?
No, the benefits are cool. I mean, I was getting
having an easier stool would be.
Yeah, going to the bathroom for those of us who are constipated a lot, it's very helpful. But also in terms of erectile tissue, there are many areas of the genitals in this pelvic bowl area that are innervated, and for some people, the anus is their primary area for orgasm. And because they don't explore, they don't think that they're very orgasmic.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of the ladies I've known who are not vaginally or clitorally that orgasmic, once they discover the anus, it's a whole new world.
Well, I think that whole back wall of the vagina, that perineal sponge, which is between the lining, that would be in between the vagina and the bit of skin between the vagina and the anus, sits the perineal sponge, and hardly anyone talks about this erogenous zone, and it's filled with erectile tissue. And I've noticed, in fact, a lot of women who either are very much at first against anal or very much feel that they have a lot of pain in that lower wall of the vagina. When that perineal sponge gets stimulated, they actually have a massive amount of perineal sponge. They have an extremely large...
It's enhanced.
Yes, it's enhanced.
And then it's not even... let's say,
well, the fact that it never gets touched, or the fact that it's so large that it doesn't get time spent with it, is what then, well, that's what actually then I noticed causes the block. So I want to really encourage people, some of these places that you go, oh, this has a lot of emotional charge, this might have a lot of physical pain there, if touched correctly and then started to be done in a way that's untapped. This doesn't mean just plunging in and just because it hurts means it's good, meaning that when you can start to unwind the sensation that is there, you can often find, this is a bad pun, buried treasure.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into how to also prep the butt. We're in the, especially the explicit side, we're going to really get into all the things that are needed so that this experience that can be painful for nearly everyone if it's not done correctly, pleasureful. In fact, it can be quite ecstatic. It is a very primal experience. It's using the breath and sound can be very almost different in this part of the body.
Give a little bit of what's the difference in that sensation, really, like between like when you're going into deep vaginal pleasure versus deep anal pleasure? How would you kind of describe that?
The anal part, it feels primal, like almost more animal in a sense. There's an intensity to it. The sensation it's like my whole body becomes
visceral.
It's visceral. It becomes electric. Like all the hairs in the back of my body almost stand up from it. And at first it's overwhelming, and then it becomes like, oh yeah, this is amazing. But there is a period where it's almost overwhelming in terms of the amount of sensation. Now, I've had a lot of stuff happening with this part of my body, so maybe it's more charged than someone who hasn't. And I do want to share about that because I think what happened to me is far more common than people would like to speak about. But I do want to, before we jump in, when we're all like the little fetuses in the body, before we become distinguished male, female, or anything, we're still little cells. We're not even really a fetus. The thing that allows us to become a fetus, the very first human feature that distinguishes us from just a mass of cells, it could be like the cancer blob. The difference, the first feature that is developed is your asshole.
Wow, that says a lot about humanity.
No, but I find that really super fascinating. And so the digestive tract is really important. So there's this whole like central line of fascia. And so this part of the body it's very primal, it's very instinctual, it's deep beyond the conscious psyche, goes into subconscious, unconscious. A lot gets stored there. A lot of our history, our pains, our discomforts, our angers, our frustrations. There is a reason why we call someone quote unquote a tight ass, right? Or do they have something stuck up there, right? We say these terms, and that's because when that part of the body gets really tight, the mind tightens. So I find that really fascinating, having worked a lot with the pelvic floor, with this area of my body in my own healing journey, that I've noticed that when that part of the body relaxes and releases, it's like the mind becomes still and actually more open. And then even the posture, like there's a walk differently and different movement. And I don't know if you've noticed that with clients or lovers.
Yeah, there's just kind of this deep relaxation that happens. It's as if everything in the world could be stressing someone else out, but then after an experience, it's like, it's all good. It's a lot of relaxation. I think something else to add is in alignment with what you said, that for some women that the primary pleasure is in the anus, and then actually getting the anus stimulated, then returning to the vagina after, of course, everything's been cleaned, or maybe you're using fingers in one and a phallus, penis, strap-on in the other, then that whole vaginal canal goes to new heights of pleasure as well.
But what's really interesting too in the female body is you can access that rectal area through the vagina. So
and vice versa.
And so you can access the G spot even through anal. So it's super fascinating how all those nerves that are crossing and communicating, it can create really intense ecstatic states. This is not a double penetration episode, but with that, whether it's just yourself on your own with 2 dildos, or using a butt plug and a dildo, or your lover and fingers or hands, or whatever the combination is, it can be extremely intense in terms of evoking pleasure or sensation of all kinds. But I do want to just say that for a lot of people, there is taboo here, there's stigma here, and there's a lot of shame and unhappiness about this area. And sometimes it starts as young as childhood, where maybe they were not well and they had a thermometer shoved up their butt, for example, or a suppository, because this is like a really common experience for kids. And it wasn't done in a way that the kid wasn't happy, they were sick, maybe permission wasn't asked, or maybe permission was even asked and it had to be done and the kid was resisting. And so it's just not a nice memory of the body. So if anal is something that you want to explore and there's been some difficulties in that area, there are ways to very gently start to open this area and allow a retraining.
Yes.
And we want you to be able to explore that if it's a yes for you, because of the richness of innervation, the richness of the erectile tissue. And there's you access something really intense. So on a positive side, learning to do this with a lover can create a lot of intimacy and trust.
Yes. And, even if you're doing it just with yourself at the beginning, which would probably be a really wise way to start,
Yes.
we'll get more into that in the explicit side, is that the ability to put down a lot of these negative emotions of fear and anxiety, shame that's going there, or maybe even like boredom because you're just sick of the routine.
Yeah.
The ability to kind of let go of a lot of these emotions that hold us back, or even anger sometimes. When we then begin to bring pleasure to the anus, all of a sudden, a lot of those kind of emotions that we have that are holding us back from going deeper into a sexual experience, deeper into intimacy with a partner, they really get lowered, and they start to turn into points of joy, the ability to feel more confident in oneself, excited and curious about yourself or your partner, as well as just these deeper states of relaxation and calmness.
Well, I just want to really take a moment here, take a deep breath, because I know for a lot of people it's like a lot to take in, and maybe for you it's only ever been a painful experience, because that is true, like a lot, and that was true for me. A lot of times this is what we know. One thing I did learn, because we can have lasting injuries, like hemorrhoids is something that can come up from this experience, especially
or skin tags.
And just like a lot of discomfort, some tearing can happen, and that just hurts for a long time. So one of the things that I learned because I was injured, and in that injury I had that kind of a big, kind of like just a bunch of skin hanging. It had been, I think, a hemorrhoid, but I didn't even know what the heck that was. I just know it's ow, 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 it really hurts. I couldn't sit for like a good week, and I didn't treat it because I didn't realize what it was and that it was treatable. So I think it's really important that people understand, if this happens, it's treatable. You should treat it right away. And these creams, they just can go over the counter and get them and help your body reabsorb all that tissue. But because it was so huge and it was left untreated, when the hemorrhoid retracted, the skin stayed. And so there was kind of like a skin sac. And I felt it was really embarrassing. It made my butt kind of ugly. What was really interesting, part of healing, was not only scheduling a surgery that was going to help heal that, but the healing journey towards the surgery was actually sharing that this had happened to me. And then the amount of women who were like, but I have that too. I had no idea, because you just
kind of coming out of the woodworks.
It was like everybody, and I was just like, what? So one of the amazing things I learned in speaking to this incredible surgeon in New York, of course I went there, because I was like, if I'm going to get butt surgery, it's got to be done by somebody who loves ass sex. Because if I ever want to have that, I want to make sure that the scar tissue doesn't inhibit that. This is really important for all of you to know. Any interventions in this area of your body, whether it's vaginally, in the vulva, around your prostate, like your perineum, your tailbone, these places, if the scar tissue, if the surgeon isn't careful, or if and it's just a very complicated situation, there's a lot of scar tissue, it can affect your sexual function. It can affect even sitting and walking, and it can affect giving birth, because scar tissue doesn't stretch as much as healthy skin. So just there are things you can do if that's the case for you, but I just want you to know, if you are considering an intervention or some kind of surgery, please get many opinions and just really work with people who understand how to lessen the impact of the surgery.
Yes.
So the one thing we learned, though, you remember, we went in to see the doctor, and Aaron and I were very, educated in the realm of sexuality and all the things around sex, but we learned something we both didn't know, and that was around the female, and the difference between the male and the female butt.
Yep, that a woman actually has a thinner skin around the anus. And this is really important because of having higher estrogen levels, then when giving birth, this area is going to be able to stretch more. However, that also means during anal sex, there is a higher likelihood of tearing.
So the surgeon was really like staring at me and he says, if you're going to do this, you really need to prep your butt. Now, never has anyone really said that to me. And it's not something we talk about because it's already a taboo subject. So we're not going to talk about it.
And especially have a doctor say this.
And he's like, no, you need to prep your butt. And I'm like, well, what does that mean exactly? Squatting, like, what do I do? And he's like, no, you need a butt plug. I'm like, what? I mean, I think I blushed. I don't blush that often. But he said, no, you have to progressively train that part of the body to open, but not just shove something in. So it was a very specific sequence of working with the butt plug for the recovery after the surgery, but also for prepping before anal sex. There's a variety of sizes. You work your way up and you use the breath. So I thought that was a useful piece of information, given that not everyone has the talents and education that you have around de-armoring and releasing, because that's not as publicly known as butt plugs. But
I think the beauty, though, is combining the butt plug then with the knowledge of how to activate your pelvic floor and the breathing.
Yeah. And then, of course, he was stressing like lube, 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 more lube. Don't like just gobs of lube. And the way that he said could be really good is you use a syringe without any pointy bits.
Without the needle. Yeah.
Without the needle. And you just fill it full of lube and then you slowly insert that into the anus rectum and you unload all that lube into the rectum.
Unload? Sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. It's
a
full, like, syringe full. And
because the booty doesn't lubricate in the same way as the vagina does.
No. And that's for either male or female butt. Yeah. All butts need lube, and it's really, really important. You do not want to be tearing that skin, which is why the prep is really important. It's why the breath is really important, which we'll share in the explicit part a bit more of that prep.
Well, let's go into two other myths. I think one about being a straight man, why would you ever do this? And two, that gay men don't have painful anal sex.
Gosh, well, that was a shock to me as well. One time we had a bespoke with a beautiful gay couple who'd been married for quite some time.
12 years they've been together.
And they really wanted to learn some ways to connect better with each other. And as we were speaking with them, through them just being very candid about what happens in their community, they're like, well, actually, a lot of gay men don't know what they're doing when it comes to anal. They just kind of go for it, but it's not always nice for the bottom. So I don't know if you want to share some insights around.
Yeah, well, I mean, just a couple things is that, well, interesting enough, they're saying that a lot of guys aren't verse, meaning that they either only top or they only bottom. And the ones that are not wanting to top is because a lot of times they feel that being penetrated in the anus can make them feel less manly, or as well that it's just painful and they don't really get much pleasure out of it.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side, that people that bottom won't top because they feel that they're actually able to get an erection, keep it up, and then do all that's required to be the one entering.
It's a lot.
It's
to
not
be the one
easy,
entering, because
exactly.
you have to have patience. You can't be impatient with the process.
And at the same time, you need to be slow at the process, but then people are afraid of losing their erection. And I think this just gets amplified if there's alcohol and different types of drugs involved.
Yes, exactly. And then for the straight guys, it's
the fear that it makes you, oh, my butt gets touched and maybe I enjoy it, I must be gay.
Yeah, so I want to alleviate this. It's, definitely not gay. In traditional Chinese medicine, especially like the Taoist practice where they do a lot of stuff around longevity and potency, they're really, really into everything that makes a man as potent as possible. And a key practice with that is put your own finger up your own butt and clean that out and massage your prostate every day. Like, that's one of the key things. Now, what I found interesting, the prostate does need circulation. A lot of the prostate problems because it's not getting enough circulation.
Yes. And palpation helps with that.
Palpation will help with that. Learning how to breathe properly will help with that. The cool thing I also learned from you, I knew it anatomically, but I didn't really understand it. And can you talk about how the root 1/3 of the cock is actually in the body, and to access it, you need to go through the anus.
Yeah, I mean, if you look down at your penis and you see where the pubic bone is at, and which is that if you follow your stomach down, you feel that there's a bone before you then reach your penis that goes across between your legs. That's your pubic bone. Then you have the top of your penis that goes out, and if this is the only part that you're stimulating, I mean, you can look underneath your testicles and you'll see that there is this entire part, which is, you know, what I call the root of the penis, down underneath, which is in that perineal area, meaning between your testicles and your anus. But then even going up and into the anus, that whole part of the penis is at least 1/3 of the cock or penis.
And so why would a straight guy, want to access that part?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, if you want to stimulate the full length of your penis, then through the anus is actually going to get those internal parts that you're not going to be able to access. Secondly, those parts rarely get touched unless you regularly touch yourself through the anus. Then that means also there's a lot of tension that can be stored there. I think pretty much any guy, if you were to just take your fingers and go down to your sit bones, which are the
bones you're sitting on,
kind of pointy ones that you sit on, and feel on either side of your anus and kind of just massage on the inside of them, and then even kind of like hook in this way and start to massage, you'll feel like, oh, there's a lot of soreness and tension there. Well, if you can bring more blood and circulation there, because you remove that tension by just even massaging just on the inside of those sit bones, not in the anus, but on the inside of those sit bones, you're going to start to bring way more blood flow. In fact, massaging that whole perineum is going to bring more blood flow. And then if you then also massage inside the anus, you're going to bring much more blood flow and have harder, stronger erections. And lastly, you're also going to be able to last a lot longer.
A lot longer. So a lot of our guys that come to us for help, they're virile men, they're strong, they're healthy, and yet they're having erectile issues. One of the first things we address is pelvic tension. And it's really, really important. So I think we should jump into explicit, because there's a lot of juicy details
we're going to share some stories even on
a lot of stories.
How some people have not had to use Viagra or Cialis anymore by learning some of these anal stimulation techniques.
Awesome.